Hey, I'm Jess Willie. I'm a TV and media critic who occasionally branches out to other stuff. I've got some pretty cool friends. A little strange, maybe, but cool. There's Nick, an AI copy of a buddy of mine from college that I installed on my smart TV. He's supposed to keep the show on track, but he spends more time watching Brazilian cooking shows. There's King Ralph Detritus, an old toy from my childhood who is somehow alive, and he rules a massive underground kingdom from a stronghold in my basement. There's Zylogaphia P. Robinson. She's a magical winter elf who started out as an observer from the International Internet Reviewers Guild, but she sorta went native. So if you want to know the story, go and watch the back catalog. If you're just interested in a review of the thing you clicked on, sit back, relax, and don't ask questions. Or if you have questions, leave them in the comments. Maybe I'll answer. The only question you can be sure I'm gonna answer is, did I get what I paid for? Oh boy, it's time for more Star Trek Enterprise!
What are you so happy about? You're doing the Met episode today, right?
Yeah, but it's Star Trek, which is like consensual sex or pizza. Even when it's bad, it's pretty good.
Which episode are we doing?
I'm hoping for the time travel episode with Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
I want the one where Archer loses his mind because he gets brainworms.
He becomes RFK Jr.?
Neither of those. We're doing the one where the crew's running out of time, alien's face covered with spines. Hoshi and the Beast. Exile. Figures. What? I'll explain later. Our story begins with the best view on the ship.
That's not the ship. That's Hoshi's quarters, and she's parading around in her PJs.
She starts hearing this creepy voice.
She can hear you narrating?
Well, I guess that explains why her first thought is to call security.
Archer and DePaul are in astrometrics trying to find the source of these spatial anomalies they've been detecting. Could it be another Xindi supersized Epcot Center like the one they encountered a few episodes ago? T'Pol sure seems to think so. Back on the bridge, Reed is taking a statement from Hoshi. He says internal sensors haven't found anything. She says, do they ever? He says, not really. She says, great, now everyone's gonna think I'm going crazy. He says, of course not. Like everyone else on this ship, you have been under extreme stress for months. You gotta blow off steam somehow. Go see Phlox, he'll tell you the same thing. She goes to sickbay. Phlox says, yup, you're stressed out. Aw man, you are so lucky. On Denobula, only great writers, artists, comedians, intellectuals, holy people, and network executives have stress-induced hallucinations. I'm just a pompous pseudo-intellectual. I have to OD on Delsum to get those sorts of effects, and those are pharmaceutically induced. It's just not the same. Hoshi gets weirded out, so she goes back to the command center to translate more of the Xindi database. That creepy voice starts up again. She calls up to Reed on the bridge, but she's not sure if she got through. All her monitors show her face from different angles. It's sort of like what would happen if a Lifetime movie had a baby with an ARG video. Then all of a sudden she's in this space rectory. She's really creeped out. She runs down the hall, busts open the door, only to discover it's really a snowy night at Disneyland Paris. No, wait, Reed finds her in the corridor. He thinks something is wrong and takes her to sickbay. Archer and Flax argue about what's wrong. Hoshi says, "Look, I get one spotlight episode a season. Even our writers wouldn't be so lazy to give me a It's All a Dream story 2 seasons in a row. It's gotta be telepathic contact." At bedtime, Hoshi starts helping Flax feed his medical experiment animals. She starts describing what telepathic contact with the alien is like. The non-diegetic music and lighting shift, and hey, that's not Phlox. But Hoshi doesn't care because she's now in this beautiful greenhouse with this guy. A little while later, Hoshi goes to see Archer to explain what happened. He says, "I can't follow that lead unless I know more." She says, "Can we please go to the planet?" He says, "I don't get it. Yesterday you were terrified." She says, "Yeah, but that's before I knew he was cute. Come on. Every other member of your senior staff has gotten laid at least once in the past 2 seasons." Archer groans, "Oh, all right." Hoshi, Archer, and Reed go down to the planet. It looks just like her dream. The alien is pissed off that Hoshi didn't come along. Archer feeds him some bull about the captain always being involved in first contact missions. The alien says, "Oh, I expected that." And he steps out of the shadows. Archer had reason to be concerned. Either that or our extraterrestrial friend really needs to update his Tinder profile. He says, yeah, I use telepathy to make myself better looking by, just a tad." So, when do we get to work? The first thing he tells them is he's gonna need something connected to the Zindi. Something about psychic impressions and all sorts of Uri Geller menu-steric ghosts sort of bullshit. And his services aren't cheap. He'll need a week with Hoshi. Wink, wink. They go back to the ship. Hoshi says, "I'm okay with this." Archer says, "I'm not. I'm getting a kind of rapey vibe off the guy." Hoshi says, "Yeah, I get that it could be dangerous, but would you rather it be just me in danger or everybody?" Archer says, okay, whatever." So they go down there. Archer gives her the safety talk about this little co-ed sleepover. And he makes sure she has a safety kit. It's got a change of uniform, makeup, a spare communicator, a phaser. Oh, she's like, "Thanks, Dad." Then she's off to dinner. There's no sign of Jerry Orbach the talking candlestick at all. Instead of fancy foods, Tarquin has made her favorites: burgers, fries, pizza. I bet there's even a cherry Coke Slurpee if she looked hard enough. She says since he already knows all about her, she wants to know more about him. It turns out he's an X-Men style mutant from a society that would rather emotionally ostracize those who are different than commit war crimes against them. He acts dismissive of his own trauma by saying, "Yeah, isolation has left me not so good with, what are those things called that are made up of letters strung together?" Oh, she says, "You mean words?" He says, "Yeah, this would be so much easier to communicate telepathically. But as I said, my gifts work best when they're, um, tactile."
That isn't just a red flag. That's a red giant going supernova.
Hoshi rightfully excuses herself. He says, "Fine, go wherever you want, as long as it isn't outside."
And there's another one. Why is it so cold when they are on Tatooine?
Hoshi goes to her room. Tarquin comes in. He hands her a copy of the Voynich manuscript and says, "Here, translating this will be a good way to entertain yourself while I work." She turns away. He gets all mopey and says, "You don't have to isolate yourself like this. Not just from me, but from your friends back on the Enterprise. Someday you'll realize you're only doing it to yourself."
He might seem sincere, but don't fall for it, Hoshi.
Meanwhile, Ardrick's fidgeting with his water polo ball. He calls up at the bridge. He says, "Hey, DePaul, are we near the sphere yet?" She says, "Yup." Then they hit the space ripples. There are a few explosions, and that's that. They do the math. They realize the sphere must be bigger than they thought. The Enterprise might not be able to go in there. But a shuttle pod loaded up with this stuff that is both a spatial anomaly repellent and a Vulcan narcotic might be able to. Hoshi is wandering around the castle in her pajamas. She apologizes to Tarquin for interrupting him when he's so close to a breakthrough. He says, "For you, I'm always willing to take a little, buffer time, if you know what I mean." He asks her if she's enjoying the book. She says she's almost done with it. She asks, "What's that glowing thing in your hand?" He says, "It's totally not Cerebro from X-Men or anything. Want to try it?" She says, "Sure." And it's not half as psychedelic or as sexual as she thought. Most of what she sees are clips from previous episodes. So she says, "Fine, I'll let you get back to work." She wanders out to the greenhouse where she finds this door that wasn't there before. It leads outside where she finds 4 graves. Tarquin bursts in. He says, "I thought I told you not to come out here." She asks, "Who were they?" He says, "People I loved. Look, I'm lonely and for all intents and purposes immortal. I have needs." She says, "Look, I don't know what you think this arrangement is. I agreed to be your house guest while you did a favor for my crew for a week. I did not agree to be your permanent live-in but." Tarquin projects his humanoid form and says, "The Enterprise wasn't always so important to you. You almost left early on." Oh, she says, "Yeah, but I grew up. Maybe you should too. It looks like you've spent the last 500 years being a 15-year-old boy." Tarquin says, "Keep telling yourself that. You can't lie to a telepath." "You want me." Archer and Trip take their anomaly-proof shuttle pod out for a spin. After a few minor hiccups, they find the supersphere. The sensors are damaged, but Archer decides since they came all this way, they might as well land on it. While trying to fix the shuttle, they hit the comedic subplot button. It seems a little late in the episode for that, but okay. The thrusters go off every which way. They have to shoot their own shuttle to get it to land. The problem is the whole beat is not humorous enough to be funny, but not dangerous enough to be a credible threat. It comes off as blatant padding. Tarquin comes in to see Hoshi. He says, "Archer called, get your stuff. Don't worry about the book, you can keep it." She says, "Cool, I don't like you, but the book is good enough that I kind of want to finish it, you know? I know that you can't do anything about being a possessive bitch without a shit ton of therapy, but here's a bit of advice. Maybe you should update your telepathic dating profile to let people know you want more of a long-term thing. And if you insist on going with this whole lock 'em in your basement thing, there are entire Reddit groups that can help you find someone." Back on the ship, Archer tells her that Tarquin gave us so much about the Zindi, and he's agreed to give us even more if you'll stay with him for a little bit longer. She says, no, I'd rather not. I was humoring him near the end there because he reminded me of that weird guy who accidentally left the sensor fob of his medical tricorder in the women's locker room. Archer says, come on, it'll only be for a month. Tops. Hoshi relents. Archer says, cool, I doubt Travis will miss you at all. Hoshi rolls a d20 to determine how she feels about the ensign the show generally forgets exists this week. She rolls a respectable 9. It's not the barely restrained sexual tension she has when she rolls a critical failure, but it's not the he's like a kid brother act she pulls sometimes. In fact, it triggers a almost soft-core thought about him, and Hoshi says, wait, this is another telepathic illusion. Tarquin says, you got me, but I've totally fucked up your ship and I'm willing to let your crew die. She says, then I'll destroy your psychic foci. He says, I won't need it with you stuck here. She says, yeah, for the next 50 or 60 years. But you are immortal. Without your device, your powers don't extend much beyond this castle. He says, yeah, you're right. I'm an idiot.
Let me guess. Things on the Enterprise go back to normal and Hoshi goes home?
Yup, and T'Pol's study of the superspheres has led her to believe there are not just 2 of these things, but close to 50 of them. Tarquin appears in Hoshi's quarters. He says, oh my god, nobody has ever stood up to me like that, and damn, was it hot. Here's everything I know about the Xindi, including where their next superweapon is being built. And that's it. That's the episode. Ralph, what did you mean that my choice of episodes was predictable? You've done all the Hoshi episodes. Not true. When I reviewed season 1, I didn't look at Fight or Flight or 2 Days and 2 Nights. But you did Shockwave Part 2 and Finishing Point when you did season 2. The only thing revealed about Hoshi Sato in Shockwave Part 2 was, yeah, that. Exile has a lot of the same problems as Vanishing Point. They might even be worse here. If we were lucky, Enterprise gave us 1 or 2 Hoshi-centered episodes a season, which is good because she was a character with a lot of potential. Somehow, 3 seasons in, we barely know anything about her apart from her nationality and the fact that unlike every other communications and diplomatic specialist in Star Trek, whether it be Uhura, Empress, or even to a lesser extent Neelix, she doesn't have that much self-confidence.
Uhura didn't seem that way on Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
When she was a newly minted ensign, that makes sense. Hoshi was in Starfleet for at least 6 years by this point. Maybe it's a good thing the writers only gave her the spotlight once or twice a year, since they can't even decide who Hoshi Sato even is. Is she a brilliant communicator on a strictly professional level and horrible at it in her personal life? Is she just a xenolinguistic specialist who barely passed her other courses at the academy? Or could she have been science officer if it weren't for T'Pol? Is she the most socially active member of the crew? Or does she mostly keep to herself? Does she have zero luck with men and is really sexually frustrated? Or is she ready, willing, and able to get laid anytime she feels like? Does she see Travis as her kid brother, or the only person on the ship she could ever consider being bed buddies with? The show doesn't try too hard to answer these questions. Or maybe it tries too hard. It not only answers the questions, it gives us every possible answer. Most of season 1 portrays her as a social misfit, a social outcast who just happens to be buddy buddy with everyone on the ship, including Porthos, a dog known for being picky about his friends. She stays home reading every night to the point where everyone calls her a shut in. A shut in who just happens to show up at every social event and party on the ship, including Trip's goddamn movie nights. During the first 2 seasons, she seemed pissed off that every guy on the ship wants to bang DePaul. Not because it's sexist, but because none of them are interested in her. Then you have episodes like this one and 2 Nights and 2 Days, where it doesn't bother her at all because she's a bit of an exo-anthropologist, if you catch my drift. Just no fat guys, otherwise Phlox would be on the menu. They introduced the Travis subplot in season 1. It really looked like it was going to happen. Then DePaul became a thing. The writers seemed to think to themselves, hey, we can't have more than one romance on this show. What do you think this series is? Deep Space Nine? So they dropped it. My point is that no matter how much potential the character of Hoshi Sato had, and no matter how good any Hoshi-centered episode might be, Enterprise let the character down every single time. With an asterisk. Was that really Hoshi? Plus, that's a spoiler for season 4. Anyway, the strength of this episode is that it's Beauty and the Beast in space. If you haven't been watching the Xindi arc from the beginning, you can sit down and watch this one and know what's going on. The weakness of this episode is it's Beauty and the Beast in space. If you know that story, you know how it has to end. So there's no point in watching it either. So we've done the bad episode and the meh episode, which means next time it's the good one. We're doing similitude. French fries time? French fries time? French fries time! Sorry, Gizmo, not enough people gave to the Patreon. You're gonna have to go without a snack until next time. I'm hungry. I'm sorry, pal. But if you guys want to see Gizmo eat French fries in a future video, or get early access to our virtual Christmas card, go to patreon.com/parodyheroesfilms and become a patron today.